We're joined by legal analyst Nthabiseng Dubazana. A very warm welcome to you and thanks very much for joining us here on SABC News, ma'am.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're most welcome. Let's start here. What are your thoughts about this independent legal opinion? The letter says that President Cyril Ramaphosa, him seeking clarity, lacks any legal basis. It does seem, as our reporter had said, that this is quite a scathing legal opinion against the president. Would you agree?
I do agree. It is quite scathing. I mean, I do agree with what the senior counsel has said. There is really no rule of law that dictates that the president ought to have written such a letter. However, seeing as there is no specific section in terms of the Broadcasting Act wherein it says that there should be a pool of other people that are recommended to the president for being on the board, but also the National Assembly has a right to recommend. There's no limit per se, per the law, that says that there should be a limit of how many people should be recommended to the president to sit on the board. So it was kind of a situation wherein the president has to decide, or rather get clarity on whether or not he will be going against the Broadcasting Act, or he would be now going against the National Assembly. And this is now where we go into the issues of the separation of powers, because the legislature and the executive do not work hand in hand per se. One is independent of the other, but there's also checks and balances. Yeah. So that is the reason I believe he wanted clarity, that he doesn't make a mistake, and that in the future that board is now questioned going forward.
So what senior counsel also added, apart from saying that this is not supported by any law, which you confirm there, she said that it seemed that the president was overreaching. To me, it sounds as though she was saying that the president is usurping his role. Is there a possibility of that in this particular situation?
Looking at what the letter was stating, it wasn't saying, listen, National Assembly, I disagree that you guys should have given me 15 candidates because you're going against the law, go sort this out. It wasn't saying that. The letter was saying, you have given me 15 candidates and I can only appoint 12. Why is there these extra 3 people? Give me an understanding so that when I go forward with making a decision, I know what it is based on. I really don't think that it was any militia coming from the president in that manner. But be that as it may, I don't really think it should have been such a scathing report. It was just a matter of maybe perhaps sitting down with both parties to say, no, listen, the reason we are doing this, which is what the National Assembly had already explained, that the reason we are giving you 3 extra candidates, we don't want a position whereby people are not able to fulfill their role, and now we have to start from scratch, considering the time constraints that we have in this situation. We just want to vet people all at the same time, so that if one falls, there's already somebody who's ready and willing to continue with the job. So, I think that was basically the gist of what he wanted, the clarity that he sought.
Yeah, the reality of the situation is that, the SABC does sit now without a board, and it's been some time that the SABC sits without a board. From a legal perspective, what are the legal implications of not having a board, and certainly does, affect some operations of the company?
If you don't have a boss, in quotes, to answer to, you can do whatever you want. In essence, even though you have signed a working contract and you know what your roles and responsibilities are as an employee, but there's no one to account to, and there's no one to ensure that those rules are enforced. We are dealing with a situation whereby anything that is happening now, there is no one to account to the National Assembly, to the president, and the nation at large, and say that as a result of 1, 2, 3, 4, we allowed that certain things happen in the SABC in order for us to get to point A, B, and C. Yeah. But at the stage that we are at, there's no one doing such a thing, and therefore any decisions that have been done thus far, they cannot be accounted for, and there's going to be a huge situation where now there's going to be complaints coming saying, we did 1, 2, 3, 4, and as a result, we are now either on the back foot of the situation and we don't know how to recover.
I mean, will that not be quite a task for the board that will be incoming, whenever that is? Will that not be, challenging for them, having to deal with backdating things, complaints, all of these issues that you're raising? I mean, what can the board that comes in have to look forward to?
it's going to be a mammoth task. It would have been ideal to have, in quotes, an interim board, even though that is not catered for in the act. But it would have been a situation where, while we're still hunting for people to actually sit on the board, there should be at least 2 or 3 people who are handling the current situation, and in order to hand over to the new board and say, this is what we had done based on, based on the rules and the regulations that the SABC has, and we followed this mechanisms and all of those things. But now we're sitting with a situation where now they have to now go back in time and see what went wrong and rectify that. The things that went right, are they in accordance with the SABC board's, SABC's rules and regulations? If not, how are we going to deal with that? Are we going to scrap them? Are we going to continue with them? How are we going to account the National Assembly? It's going to be a mammoth task. I really do wonder how they're going to deal with it going forward.
Are we dealing with an act that perhaps has a lot missing here? You talk about the fact that it's not catered for in the act, the issue of an interim board. Should the act be relooked?
I think so. I mean, every legislature always has to be reviewed in one form or another, but somebody has to bring it to the attention of the courts, and also to ensure that its wording is mirrored and marries the constitution that we have. It cannot be that it's still backdated and it doesn't marry the constitutional era that we are in right now. So I think there has to be a situation whereby the act is relooked and amended in certain instances to cater this kind of situation, wherein a board is not appointed. What do we do then?
Yeah, and we've been hearing about the matter possibly being referred to the Constitutional Court. We're hearing about the president perhaps approaching the Concord. Is there a possibility of that happening? Could it go that far?
I don't think there's a need for it to go that far. This report, this legal opinion that was given, it is clearly outlined what the law has said. Relevant case law has been cited in the report, in the opinion. I beg your pardon. And I'm in agreement with everything that the senior counsel has put in there, and the rule of law was followed to the T by the National Assembly. And the issue of separation of powers, even though she didn't delve too much into her opinion, she hints at it in the way that she's written the opinion, and therefore it's clear what had happened. Nobody has overstepped in terms of the National Assembly by recommending 15 people. All the president just needs to say is like, okay, it is clear now. It makes sense to me. Let's proceed. I don't think it's going to go to the Constitutional Court. It will be a waste of time.
All right, a pleasure having your legal input here on SABC News, ma'am. That's legal analyst Nthabiseng Dubazana.